Thanks a lot for staying with TVC Breakfast. And so in the past couple of minutes, we've been dissecting the conduct of the governorship election in Bayelsa State. Now that winners have emerged and the governor, Douye Diri, has been announced as winner, getting a second term in office now. He was closely followed by the APC's Timipre Sylva. And we have in the studio Nelson Okujimi. Joining us via Zoom is Alfred Kemipado. Ibrahim.
Yes, let me start again with Mr. Alfred, who is the former Secretary General, Ijaw Council Youth Council, Bayelsa State. Thank you so much once again. I was trying to find out how all your apprehensions before the election, how they played out in this just concluded election in Bayelsa. We saw a lot of happenings, but how did they play out for you?
Yeah, it played out just as I predicted in your studio. I know you would have heard of the issues of INEC officers being kidnapped. I know you would have heard of the unnecessary murder of one judge, Sibo, at the collation center in Brass. I know you would have heard of all of this. But in all, we want to thank the security agencies. Despite the inducement, they stood up to the game to defend democracy, especially here in Bayelsa. And most especially, the Independent National Electoral Commission. We also want to thank them for standing up to the truth, as was reflected in the ballots, in the votes that were cast by us. You know, there's a saying, you know, around now, if you win elections, it means INEC is good. But if you are the loser, then INEC is bad. So, you know, probably because the People's Democratic Party, which is where my support is, has won. And if I'm saying INEC did their best, it will sound to some like, aha, it's because they won. That's why he's trying to praise INEC. But that's not the case. I'm saying this to say that with what we saw in Bayelsa, where, for example, in places like Basambri, you will see 41 accredited beavers from the back end of the IREB. And you see people submitting 722 votes. How can anybody think of having 722 votes out of 41 accredited? I don't know where that kind of mathematics has come from. I don't know how, you know, in a place in the Oluwasiri area and other areas, INEC staff were held at gunpoint to write results in favor of some candidates. And all of this came, and the INEC that was deployed to Bayelsa summoned the courage to say, no, this cannot happen. To that extent, I thank the INEC, I thank them, I thank the team. I don't know who was sent to any other place, but the team that came to Bayelsa on a do well. I thank them for standing up. And these are not just makeups. You know, the good thing is that the technology is there, and we can all go back to all these facts, okay? Thank God. A place like Southern Niger, you can imagine, you understand, members of the opposition party kidnap INEC officials in collusion with some miscreants. Please, I don't want to say miscreants. In collusion with some people who should have done better. And results were written for some words, one handwriting, one biro, one signature, one everything. Maybe that's how God wanted to expose them. And I thank the INEC for coming up to say, no, we can't accept this.
Mr.
And at the end of the day,
Mr. Kemipado, very quickly, you are happy with the outcome of the election in Bayelsa State simply because your party won, and then you're actually giving INEC the kudos. Is it the same? Is it that INEC got kudos in Bayelsa State, but other states, Imo State and Kogi State, where your party didn't win, would you say INEC didn't do well there?
What I'm trying to tell you, okay, and I'm saying it with all honor, is that even in Bayelsa State, okay, there is so much that is desired of INEC to do better in subsequent elections. I've had the complaints from Kogi and Imo. I don't have all the facts. But speaking from Bayelsa, I know that there are situations where number of voters that were turned out as in the form of result sheets were far in multiples of the number of accredited. So it shows that kind of, I don't know how to call that kind of rigging, like no conscience, no, I don't know how to describe it. So I'm not saying, I'm thanking INEC for standing up to the occasion in Bayelsa. That's why I restricted my thanks to the staff of INEC that was sent to Bayelsa. They were courageous to say no. If they weren't courageous to say no, where no was the right answer, we won't be singing this song. So I shouldn't be talking just because we are victorious. I should be talking for Nigeria. Don't forget that as I'm talking to you, I have a future ahead of me. So we observed all of these things. It is not me that is telling you now that INEC staff were kidnapped. It's not me that is telling you. The media reported it. It's not even the INEC official handle requested for our staff. Should we run elections like that? And I'm saying this because prior to the election, we had of a particular political party had come out to say, this is what they will do. Is it that you did not see the videos that a personality not less than the deputy governorship candidate of a particular political party came out to say, kill people and throw them into the river? These are not, we should condone. It is not about APC, it is not about PDP. It is about Nigeria democratic process. These are not things that should be condoned. It doesn't matter who wins tomorrow or who loses tomorrow. After all, there is a saying that if you are in a contest in an election and you're not open to a loss, then you are...
Comrade Alfred. All right, we'll try to reconnect again with Comrade as we continue to brief the odds regarding network and its glitches. But back to the studio, and I actually wanted to ask Comrade, the issue that you pointed out, that INEC had already, raised an alarm about the trends of insecurity in the 3 states where it managed. And, as we focus on Bayelsa State now, people have spoken about the peculiarities in Bayelsa State, for example. But in terms of what you said earlier on, that INEC is not security agencies now to curtail chaos and, maintain the peace in the state, how then would you assess security operatives? They had known the terrains could be a problem in a state as Bayelsa State, but, we still experienced skirmishes here and there at the collation center, at some polling units, and, around the places. We even understand that a life was lost, during the weekend of election.
Yes, thank you. I think one fact that we Nigerians must understand is that when security operatives are deployed in their thousands to provide security during an election, they are told or they are tutored that you are to provide security. They are not going to war. We must get that very clear. That is why a lot of times when you see skirmishes at polling stations, security agencies come there, to pacify. They use the non-kinetic approach. The only area where you see them use the kinetic approach is when there's a threat to life. But if it is something that they can just come there, their presence alone, can scare away those troublemakers, they do that.
So even at polling units, they are supposed to be armed?
No, they are not supposed to be armed.
Right, okay.
They only come to polling station armed if there's crisis. And if the report they've gotten is that the people who are there armed. So they have a right to come and arrest such situation. But the truth of the matter is that in most cases, you hardly see them use the kinetic approach to, to quell disturbance during the election, because the mandate they have is that they are going to, maintain law and order in an election, and they are not going to fight war. So they don't come with the mentality of we are coming to destroy. No, the security agencies don't do that. And we saw, very good deployment of, in fact, I was in Kogi. I'll tell you for free, the presence and the deployment technology, or I don't know what method they use, went a long way in giving people the confidence to come out on election day, because this is our elections, and we have all known for some time now that a lot of our people have turned election into a theater of war. You're talking about Bayelsa today. We all know the history of Bayelsa when it comes to election. You know, it is not new to us. And the man in Bayelsa has rightly told us that, you know, the security agencies did a very good job. Just like I was in Kogi, it was a no-nonsense approach. They don't want to know who you are. They will tell you, this is the order we are giving, no movement. Please, Oga, go back. If you don't go back, you are detained. Mr. Man, what are you doing in this polling station? Are you a voter? If you don't have business there, they'll walk you out of the polling station. And the moment you know you are not there to vote, in fact, the mere look of the voters there alone will even scare you away. Because everybody will be looking at you, feel embarrassed. So the conduct of the security agencies, the police, the army on roadblocks, on motorized patrols, the area surveillance, NSCDC, you know, they were impartial and neutral in this matter.
Unfortunately, sorry to butt in, unfortunately, all of this professionalism didn't stop people from buying and selling of voting, of their votes, because that's what was recorded in all of the 3 states. That
Yes.
parties, whether the one that won or the one that didn't won, were alleged to have
You know,
sold, I mean, bought.
there was a transactional
exactly,
arrangement.
on votes. So how would you situate that? What's your assessment of that, despite all of the noise, all of the cries against this practice?
It's, you know, theory is different from practical. As somebody who has been on the field for years, I can tell you that it's a very tall order. Because one, I have thought about this problem, and I'm trying to think that, can we incentivize security agencies arresting, you know, these buyers and sellers on election day? But I also recognize the history that in some polling stations, you get there, you discover that a transaction is going on, and you discover that the voters themselves, they are willing accomplices, that if you try to stop them from getting their own share of the bargain, anything can happen to you. I've been election observer in some states that you get there, you look to your left, you see a crowd gathered on your left, and somebody runs to you and say, Oga, as an observer. Because one thing has played out in our elections over the years, the voters tend to have more confidence in observers than any other of the stakeholders, any other of the participants in the process. So they will run to you and say, Oga, see that man there, he's giving them money, they are collecting money to come and vote. And while you are looking to that direction, another person will run to you and say, Oga, look at your right. And you look at your right, you see another crowd. You say, that is their own. Then when that one is telling somebody, says, don't mind them, we'll see their own at your back. You turn to your back, you see another crowd, and you are like, so when you deploy 3 or 4 unarmed, maybe policemen or NSCDC officer to the police station, in a crowd of, say, 20 to 30 or 40, what can one man do? By the time, and again, the security agencies are very smart. Let me be honest. When you tell them that, Oga, see, one man is giving them money, they will tell you, my responsibility is to police the police station. If I go now and they carry the ballot box, what will I say? Where will I say I went to? So they also have that challenge. So it is about us upping the ante with regards to our voters' education. Let us ask our people, how much is our lives worth for 4 years that we want to collect on election day? That's the question we should all answer.
All right, let's check. Comrade, are you there? Comrade Alfred.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Okay, so we could call this, so we can rightly call this, you know, post-election period in Bayelsa State. Regarding the issue of security, though, you've said the security operatives, you know, did well. You expressed fears, and despite the achievement of the security forces, there were some, sad reports of loss of lives, kidnapped. Thankfully, the INEC official has been found and returned to her duty post. But there were still skirmishes, rowdy scenes here and there. So, what are your expectations now? Has the dust sufficiently settled from your assessment?
Yeah, basically, any other thing apart from the court of law for any person that chooses that path. But, you know, as Bayelsans, it's a time for us to come together and work harder for a better state. But the lessons learned from these elections, my sister, it remains bitter, you know, and I will still thank the INEC that was deployed there. If not for the INEC that was deployed there and the courage that was displayed, the courage that was displayed by that INEC to reject the cooked up results, results were written with disregard to INEC. You know, if not that this was done, we won't be talking. And our democracy shouldn't be like that. Our democracy, anybody should win any election from any party, you know. So I won't stop thanking the INEC. I won't stop thanking the security agencies that did their jobs. But there are security agencies that were partisan too, such as the SWAT team that was deployed to the Nembe Basambre area. They were not just partisan, they were so disrespectful that they took sides with a particular party to turn back even fellow advocates of Nigeria, chase them out of the community just to give room to a particular party. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, say here in the Niger Delta, now God get power.
So, well, Bayelsa, right, Bayelsa is quite a peculiar, you know, state in a way because, you know, it's all about the state governorship election, which, you know, just concluded, you know, how it's shaped by the desire to harness the wealth, the oil and the wealth in Bayelsa for the benefit, so to speak, of the large population. What tasks do you think are ahead of the incumbent governor, who is now returned winner of the state election? What tasks do you think he's got ahead of him? Because there's so many issues which the opposition party campaigned with. How do you think he might be able to work on all of these things for the benefit of the generality in the state?
It's just for the incumbent governor to continue with what he was doing, that got Bayelsans to love him. Let him continue with the road that is hitting the brass local government to open up the Bayelsa state to the Atlantic. Let him continue with the one going to the east, up to Agate, the deep sea port, where we can. Let him continue with the peace. Let him continue with his attitude of tolerance. Let him continue with making Bayelsa a home for both APC, PDP, ABGA, every party. Let him continue in his strides at making Bayelsa a home for everybody, not just in the Delta, but across the world. You see, let him continue with everything he's been doing. You think that the governor is celebrating. The governor is, as I'm talking to you this morning, I can confirm to you that he to go for some project inspections, okay? So let him continue with his passion and his dedication towards Bayelsa. And in the second tenure, let him continue with his strides of job creation and other things. If not for Bayelsans, Governor Douye Diri will not return. If it is by those who trusted in chariots and horses, Governor Douye Diri will not return. You're talking about vote buying. There were areas where votes were bought with up to 40 to 50,000 naira per vote. And people were like, no, take your votes, go. This man, they allow us sleep. We want him back. So, in short, as a matter of fact, let God give him the wisdom to manage this victory. This victory can come from nowhere else except the ordinary Bayelsa, okay? As we dedicate it to God Almighty, the second people we need to dedicate it to is the ordinary Bayelsa. So let him just continue with what he is doing in terms of infrastructural development and in all other sectors of the state economy, such as health, education, technical education, sports, you know, youth empowerment, especially the empowerment that has been going out to women in our rural communities. Let him continue in that stride.
Right. Coming back to the studios, let me also, tap your brains, Mr. Ekujimi, on governance. in Bayelsa State. It's a state with such a great potential, an oil-producing state, but reeling basically from mismanagement of its resources. And this was a keenly contested election, a former governor slugging it out with an incumbent, and the results are out now. What is your assessment? And you know, what do you feel the governor, the returned governor now, should focus on in this second term of office?
Well, I don't know much about what the incumbent governor has done in his first term. But if we look at the records, I don't think there's sharing news from Bayelsa as we speak, because I saw the polling station where the polling station, which was a primary school, a school where the governor voted. You can see the ceiling of that roof. You know, it doesn't speak well for that state. A state that, you know, is an oil-producing state, collecting 13% oil derivation, you know, and what have you. So looking at the governor in his next 4 years, Bayelsa State is like an island surrounded, it's a piece of land surrounded by water. How can the state tap into that enormous natural resource by God to make the life of the average Bayelsan better? Is it in terms of education? Is it in terms of health? Is it in terms of, you know, empowerment for rural women and, you know, rural men? Because a lot of times we run to say rural women as if the rural area is only meant for women and women will disappear from the place. Without the men, the women cannot be in the rural area. That's a fact.
Don't protest. Don't use this platform to protest for the men.
So I will expect that, you know, the people themselves know where the shoe pinches in terms of infrastructure, in terms of making life better for them. They should be the ones setting the agenda for the government. I think the next 4 years should be one dedicated to higher service for the good and bad people of Bayelsa State by the governor.
So very quickly before we go coastal, we saw on TV the brawling among political parties right there at the collation center, and this is a practice.
It is the norm. It is the norm.
Is it possible for? Would you advocate for some sort of laws to be, promulgated in order to ensure that that kind of practice is not, doesn't come up at the collation center, if possible? If we have it, I'm not sure whether we have it, but what kind of sanctions can be meted out on people who try to disrupt the process?
Well, we don't have a law in place to that, but like we saw in, was it Timo, where a party agent was bundled out of the collation center. That is also one of the rules. If you want to disrupt the process, you are taken out of it.
That's because others are against what the other person is doing. What if all of the parties are united in disrupting, the process?
Well, the truth of the matter is that they cannot even disrupt the process adequately because we have security agencies deployed. I have been a live participant at collation centers. And when you try to disrupt, the security agencies are invited in, even if it means taking all of you out, the security agencies will come and do that because the returning officer has the responsibility by law to execute. So any attempt of you, the only thing you can do, you can just stay there and continue to be a nuisance. The moment you come to disrupt what he's doing on that table, because when he's sitting on that table, he's not sitting as the collation, he's not sitting as the returning, he's sitting as the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So long as you don't interfere with what he's doing, he has a right, even when you are making all the noise, he has the right to continue with what he's doing. Once he makes his pronouncement according to law, that becomes it. If you have anything against what he has done, you go to court.
Right. Okay, so let's quickly get final thoughts now from Comrade Alfred there. Elders, Bayelsa elders have urged the closest contender at the race, the governorship election, that's Timipre Sylva, to also congratulate the winner of the election. That's Governor Diri, just as the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, has done. Is this something you also subscribe to? It was an intense campaigning and election from what we've seen in the figures, but, what would be your message to Mr. Sylva right now?
Yeah, Mr. Sylva is former governor of this state, deserves all the respect. Elections have come and gone. And he has this wealth of experience. He was Minister of Petroleum for 4 years. You know, at a time like this, for people who want to make fortune out of post-election matters, they may want to talk to Indians, but I don't think as a state that's what we need now. It's for him to congratulate the governor, join him, you know, add his experience, his exposure, and his connect. By that I mean his contact to the governor, and see how we can move this state forward. But quickly, before I round up, I just want to tell my friend in the studio that governance is about strategy. And when we say we empower women in our rural areas, we will continue to do that. Because you see, when you empower women, okay, empowering women does not stop the men from what they get. But empowering women most times keeps the resources in the family for the children who constitute the tomorrow's men, okay? So that's deliberate, and we will continue to do that. So if you understand the economy of homes and how these whole things transforms to making a good man making good men in the future, you understand that it's good to empower women and reside some form of economy at home from which they take. You know us men now. You get the next job, you get the next money. Before you know, we'll see you in the club. Part of that money is gone somewhere else. But the women will keep that money more at home, take care of their children. So it's strategic to us, and this is without disregard the men get. You as men will continue to get what you get according to your merit, but we will concentrate on the empowerment of women, youths, and of course men.
Well, Mr. Kwame, I disagree with you because I don't go a clubbing.
No, but he's also, you know, making a point. Women are better managers.
No, I know you will support the point.
But
we are the men that provide the
resources.
resources for you to be.
Of course, we acknowledge your value. We acknowledge your value, but it actually is, you know, very, very apt, you know, for more attention to be on the women. Gentlemen, we thank you very much. Alfred Kamepado, thanks for hanging on and braving the odds, considering the network glitches. We thank you very much. I'm back here in the studio, election observer, veteran, as I want to add now. Nelson Ekujumi, thank you for always.